Hey everybody, it's Mark Built It, and today I want to tell you all about Coinvise. So Coinvise is a social token site. It runs on Ethereum, which is the most popular layer 1. It runs on Polygon, which is the most popular layer 2. And it is a pseudo competitor to Rally, but there are some pretty big differences. So let me tell you a little more about what they offer. When you log on to Coinvise, you're presented with a dashboard. And from this dashboard, you can do the 4 main activities that they will help you with. The first one is create, and what that does is allow you to mint an ERC20 token. An ERC20 token is a fungible token, just like Ether or Bitcoin. When you mint yours, it will have 0 value, and it's up to you to create value around that coin. The next activity that they can help you with is airdropping coins to your users. Now, we haven't discussed the term airdrop before, but essentially it's when you reward users for just being active on your platform. You may have heard airdrop when it comes to something like ENS, so the Ethereum name service decided to retroactively reward the people who had used the service with governance tokens, which was their ERC20 token. And these tokens became incredibly valuable after the fact. So they're really just meant for people to have voting rights inside the DAO, the decentralized autonomous organization that runs the Ethereum name service. So that's the organization behind all of these .eth names, .eth names that you see on Twitter. So they will help you with those airdrops, and that can be a real hassle when you are doing that as a creator, because you really want it to be as automated as possible, especially if you have a few thousand users on your server. Rally has the airdrop feature, but it seems like it's something that's done on a one-on-one basis by the person who's running the community. So there are tools in place in Rally to handle these airdrops, but they take a lot more effort and a lot more time. The next thing they can help you with is vesting. Vesting is useful if you have someone who has invested in your community, or if you are splitting the sort of the creator portion of these tokens among several different creators. You can lock people in for a certain period of time, and then you can allow their coins to vest to their full value on a custom schedule. So that's a pretty unique setup that I haven't seen in a lot of social tokens. And the last activity that they will help you with are quests. And another word for quests is bounties. So if you are building a community and you are working together with the community to build resources, create products, having a bounty out there that says, someone can curate a list of the 8 best articles on XYZ, I'll give you so many tokens. Coinvise can help you do that. That's an interesting feature. I haven't seen that anywhere else at this point. That is important to me because it means that they're kind of putting an emphasis on communities that are working together. So if you are somebody who's thinking more along the lines of a creator who is guiding a community as opposed to a creator who's attracting an audience, then offering bounties is something you can do to create that sense of community and get people working all towards the same goal. A couple other tools that Coinvise offers that I thought were interesting. One is the ability to do a multi-signature wallet. So that goes back to the example where maybe you're starting this community and issuing these coins with a group of 5 or 6 people. You can set up a community-owned wallet that has to be signed by 4 out of 6 of the people with signature capabilities. That's a good way to ensure that consensus is built before money is spent out of the treasury, or it can also serve as security to keep money from just being transferred out and pulling the rug out from under the community. They also have a Discord tipping bot. This one requires a little more comfort with technical stuff, that you have to install the bot on your Discord server and then run a little bit of code. It's not too bad, but you need to be really careful about the permissions around that bot as well. And then there's bridging. Bridging is the process you go through to move coins from one layer of Ethereum to another. Because you will have a choice to mint your token on either the mainnet of Ethereum or the Polygon sidechain. Having coins on the mainnet is helpful because it's a little bit higher security level, and you can do, if you're doing large single transactions with those coins, moving from, basically moving the treasury from wallet to wallet, it's good to have that extra layer of security there. Having coins on the layer 2 on Polygon is good because it saves you a tremendous amount of money in gas fees. So if you're doing something like an airdrop where you're giving out 300 tokens to every person in your community, that's each one of those airdrops is an individual transaction. So you would have to pay the same gas fee over and over and over again, and that can get really expensive on mainnet. So that's an activity that you want to do on layer 2. It seems like they recommend that you mint your coins on mainnet and then you bridge large quantities across into a secondary wallet for distributions. And that is because they've set up a bridge to go from mainnet to Polygon, but it's a much harder job to move coins from Polygon back onto the mainnet. So you kind of pull those coins down in big chunks as you need them. Okay, so my question is always, how does this company make money? They are already charging fees. They did have a funding round back in the summer of 2021, but they have a fee structure in place, which means they are trying to be sustainable from day one. I don't know if they're making a profit, but at least they have a plan to earn from their customers. The fee system is pretty simple. They don't charge anything for the original minting, unless you need some extra help from their techs, in which case they'll charge you 1% of the community's tokens when they're helping you set that up. That's an interesting model because they're taking a percentage of ownership in your company, which means that your incentives are aligned. They do better if you do better. So if you're really unsure about how to set these things up, how to think about the economy of your token, it may be worth paying 1% of your tokens over to them to help get things going. They charge on airdrops and bounties 0.2%. 0.2% of the amount per recipient, and then 0.2% of the amount listed. And each of these fees are listed in Ether. So if you were to create a bounty that said, I will pay 0.05 Ether to someone who can do XYZ, once that bounty is fulfilled, once you've approved the transaction, they will collect 0.2%, 0.002 of that transaction. Not a high fee for setting something like that up, especially if you're using a lot of if you use a lot of bounties, you're going to pay a lot of fees. If you don't, you're not going to pay any. The social token airdrop, now that's an interesting way they've set up their fees. So it's 0.2% of the amount per recipient in ETH. So if we do the math on that, they recommend that you issue 10 million coins as sort of a standard treasury for a social token. Usually you end up giving away 10 to 30% of that treasury as part of your incentives and your airdrops. And there's a few different things. There's bounties, there's other things. So let's just average it. Let's say half of it goes to airdrops and the other half goes to bounties. So 15% of that 10 million coins, that's 1.5 million coins. If you're running a server that has 5,000 users and you're going to airdrop to all of them an even amount, that means you're going to be sending 300 coins to each user. So 300 times 0.002, which is 0.2%, in Ether is 0.6 Ether. So as of a few days ago, Ether was around 3,000. It's much lower now. But at that level of 3,000, you're looking at $1,800 to do an airdrop to 5,000 people, plus gas costs. You always have to pay gas, and you got to remember that the gas does not go to Coinvise. It goes to the people who are running the network to process each transaction. Another thing that they mention on their site is that their contracts are audited. That's pretty important, especially if you've been hearing about some of the hacks that have happened. Okay, so overall, I think the fees are pretty reasonable. I like the fact that they're charging money from their customers. That means that they aren't, at least right now, planning on turning the customers into the product. They are selling a product to us. The other thing I like about them is their guides are very thorough. Each guide has a little video that walkthrough. It has the multi-step piece. If there is some other prerequisite like having a crypto wallet and setting that up, they've got a link to a tutorial on how to do that. It's well thought out. It's well written. They put a lot of work into these guides, and that's good to see. I think that their support for bounty systems is really good for creators who are really trying to build a community instead of an audience. They even show a use case at the end of each guide on, why it was valuable to this particular organization, what they benefited, how they benefited from that product. That's a nice proof of concept that a lot of places don't offer. And this particular use case brings me to my next point, which is I think their support for bounty systems is really going to be helpful for those of us that are looking to try to build a community as opposed to an audience. So that's a nice touch. Another thing they offer is a whole series of articles called Coinvise Learn. And this is an incredible resource. And I'm a long ways off from doing anything along the lines of issuing a token like this, but in the meantime, I will be digging through this resource. They've got, some of their use cases, but there's a whole bunch of things you can learn about tokenomics, gathering a strong community, crowdfunding projects, setting up your treasury, even one on social tokens and legal aspects of crypto. But as you might expect, there is a big fat disclaimer that that's not legal advice. So take that with a grain of salt. Okay, so where do they fall short? Well, they don't have any token gating tools built in. So if you're hoping to do that, you're going to need to go through a third party once you've got your coin set up. They don't have any site building tools. So you will have to use your tokens, again, with whatever third party site that you want to build, be that like a WordPress site or something else. If all you're going to do is have a Twitter page, a Twitter account that links to a Discord server, that's not a problem for you. And the last thing is they have really no support for NFTs. In one place in the documents I found where they explicitly stated that they do not support NFT minting right now. And then in another document here in their Learn section, there was a link to an easy step-by-step guide to minting an NFT on Coinvise, but that link goes nowhere. It goes to Notion file, which is locked, and then when you log in, there's nothing there. So that might be a deal breaker for you if you're hoping to gate your community with NFT ownership. You're not going to be able to use Coinvise for that to create those NFTs. But if you're thinking about issuing a social token to your community and using quantity of ownership or just the fact that they actually hold a single coin as the key to get through your gate, then Coinvise will do it for you. So I think this is a pretty solid tool. You definitely want to check it out. If you have experience with Coinvise, I would love to hear what it was like for you using their docs and building your community. So I'm Mark Builds It on Twitter. I hope to see you there. We'll talk to you tomorrow.